is a bullet in the barrel of your best guy's gun.
Who'll hang the noose on the goose, stepping goons from Berlin? Who will indeed lead the war for America? Who wants to leave his all for America? See the front that we can, the Star-Spangled Banner.
We all know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another wonderful episode of Chaos Effect. It's me, Tyler, enjoying the great outdoors today as a change of scenery because the gamer be gaming.
And it's your weird farmhand cowboy guy who doesn't talk at all like he's expected to. McLean, hi. How you all doing?
I'm doing wonderful. And today we have a very special episode because we're talking about a couple characters that are near and dear to my heart.
Yep.
The Star-Spangled Man with a Plan, Captain America, whose shirt is indoors, and then the Man of Steel. I'm repping today, Superman. Because these two characters fall into a very similar camp, despite having very different origins and abilities.
Yeah, we get to play my favorite game of who's less likely to copyright strike me for using their theme, Warner Brothers or Disney. Because that's going to be the intro to this episode, either Star-Spangled Man or the Superman theme.
That's a good question. Play both at the same time so the system doesn't pick it up.
Got it.
It'll be total ear rape.
So where are we starting on this?
So I just want to start off. I'm not a comics expert. I'm basing most of my knowledge on these characters from the movies, and if that pisses you off, sorry, I'm just a casual nerd. But I've read a decent amount of comics in my day. I just don't have enough to build on like my comic, like my knowledge of their comic persona versus the movies. So just for simplicity's sake, and I assume most people have seen at least most of these movies that we're talking about anyway. So that's just where I want to start off real quick by just clarifying that. Now I want to ask, do you have a favorite movie of either of these characters?
I'm not gonna lie. I've thought every movie adaptation so far of Superman has not lived up to the standards comics have set for me. But I am a big fan of Winter Soldier and Civil War. So,
yes, I'm also a big fan. I went back recently and I rewatched the Christopher Reeves movies, and first two were pretty good. The first two. The three and four are comically bad, four being the worst. We don't really need to talk about that because I'm that subject has been driven to the ground already, because we all know Superman 4 Quest for Peace is hot garbage. But specifically the first movie I think resonates with me a lot, and it's cheesy as hell. Lex Luthor's big plan in that movie is he bought most of the California desert and then wanted to trigger a nuclear explosion in the San Andreas Fault to make the western half of California fall into the water, so he can own California pretty much. So it's silly as hell. Physics make no sense.
yeah, it's. I guess I think that was from an era of movies where they're like, "Fuck, what do we do with this character?"
Right. Minus the plot being really silly. I mean, I think it's fun, but I think it does a really good job at personifying Clark Kent, because I'm in the like. I think Clark Kent's easily one of my favorite characters because he's a man with godlike powers but he still chooses to be a man. He's still attached to his personality. He is very grounded in the way he grew up and um, the values that he holds. And at his core, he is a man with a heart, despite being this godlike creature. And this movies are silly as hell, but I think out of any movies, I think those original movies capture that best because even like the earlier ones, like there's a George Reeves ones, or it was like the serial television series, but there's also Superman for Mole Man versus the Mole Man or some shit. Like I can't remember. I've seen it, but I don't remember the name exactly. But there's one conversation pretty early on into the first Superman movie that I think does a really good job at personifying him. It's the scene where, spoilers, Jonathan Kent dies. Big shocker there. But right before he drops dead from a fucking heart attack, which is much more realistic than dumb tornado in Man of Steel. But
I think that's such a better way to do it because that's like just drives home the morality of man compared to Superman is like the fact dying from something like a heart attack versus a tornado is so out of his control.
Right.
Like, so I have a problem with like how Superman and actually like this could be a discussion, but like how DC itself has been adapted in the movies. And people say like, oh, DC's not entertaining because like it's that stupid Kill Bill quote of like it's the gods pretending to be people or Superman's. No, Clark Kent is like Superman. Superman is, yes, he's Kal-El, but Clark Kent is who he is.
Right.
Like that is his person. Like all the heroes, except maybe arguably Batman, are very genuinely who their alter ego is. It's just they're using a different name.
Yeah. And with someone like Batman, you could argue that Batman is more the personality and Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Yeah. And even though Batman's still generally less of it, like he's less of this like grim, dark superhero that every movie's turned him into. He's more of actually just kind of he's a really good dude. He's a dude.
Yeah.
Like you get into the Robins and like removing the Robins, in my opinion, has been one of the cardinal sins of the movies, except the one time they did it and completely fucked it up.
Yeah. Are we referencing Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin?
Yeah.
I love that movie. It's so bad, but I love it.
Well, and also they like hinted at like in the Nolan movies, like, oh, we named this one cop Dick Grayson.
Oh yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character at the end of The Dark Knight Rises.
And I hated that because I don't think an adult man should be Robin.
No, but I always found the morality of Robin really weird. He's basically just recruiting child soldiers.
Yeah, I mean, we could go into this another time, but let's start going
let's go back to Superman.
Yeah, let's go. Like, I want to talk about these two characters and like what they mean for our cultural society. But yeah.
So where I was going with the Jonathan Kent thing is it's a young Clark Kent. He's in high school and he's just come back from a football game where he's basically like the water boy and like all the girls were gonna like invite him to like the house and the dudes are just like the bullies are just like, nah, see you later, Kent. And then we see him just fucking sprint all the way from school to home, and it's one of the first of all, he punts a football into the fucking atmosphere pretty much. And then he just sprints past a train and shit, and it's crazy how fast he is. But then he's just like, he has this really good heart to heart with Jonathan Kent, where he's just like, every time he sees that football, he knows he could make a touchdown. And he's like, is a bird showing off when it flaps its wings to fly? And Jonathan Kent is basically like, you're hiding your powers because we knew that if somebody found out about you, that they'd probably take you away, which is definitely true. But also, you're meant for greater things. Your life amounts to more than just making touchdowns, and I think that's a great representation of the struggle that Superman has to deal with, or Clark Kent, is that he's blessed with this power, but he's also has to live his life as a normal man, and it takes so much self-control to do that, to make sure he doesn't make that touchdown every time, to make sure that he can still live a normal life as a caring young man. And that the morality of that character is what I think is probably one of my favorite things about
It's
Superman in general.
as much as I like give how the MCU's portrayed Peter Parker a hard time, I actually think they did one good thing, and they had him explain, and I'm just doing this to make a comparison to people who aren't familiar with Superman. He does this whole thing that he says, like, I could have done this and that, and I could have been the best, but I know I couldn't, because I have this thing that would make it almost unfair, and I'm destined to do more.
Right.
And the thing I liked about DC, or not liked, but the thing about DC versus Marvel is DC, the secret personas actually mean a lot, whereas Marvel in its most modern iterations has almost completely discarded it, with the exception of Spider-Man, pretty much.
Yeah. And spoilers for Far From Home, that doesn't really go very well for me either.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that.
But that's why for Civil War you really get like in the Civil War in the comics. I've read the Civil War comic, and that the secret identity thing is a huge deal.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much the crux of the whole thing. But,
well, that and the morality, not morality, but like the legality of having superheroes and like who should be in charge of them. But yeah, so speaking of Marvel, can we talk about the Star Spangled Man?
Yes. I rewatched the first Avenger.
I mean, can I talk about like just Captain America as a character and his origins?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Stan Lee, and quite a few of the creators of Marvel, I believe, were Jewish. And they all played a part in World War II. I mean, Stan Lee created propaganda for the United States. And he created Captain America as one of those things. And Captain America became an iconic comic of American ideology, not like America's ideology, what Stan Lee and what people thought America should be. He's the person who rises above and is the greater for all mankind. And that's similar to what Superman was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then you have in movies, he's created by a Jewish scientist, which is, I think, kind of, I don't want to say self-insert, but it's representational of what Stan Lee did for this character and kind of for the country to create like this icon.
Yeah. But I want to quick get into something. These characters are propaganda.
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%.
But I love them.
They're good propaganda.
Yeah, but like most propaganda, a lot of people miss the point of the characters.
Yes.
Yeah, the first Avengers, a great origin story for Captain America. I actually like the movie portrayals of Captain America slightly better than I like the comics. I still like the comic book portrayals, but Captain America is just gotta be the most morally correct character there is in everything.
Yeah. The reason why I'm very critical of a lot of propaganda things. But the reason why I'm okay with the character that's just like this big American flag with the name Captain America and stuff like that is because what Steve Rogers embodies is not just like the big fancy American dream. he embodies the strong balance between patriotism and nationalism.
Well, and that's not just Captain America is not just one guy too. I mean, if we're to talk comics here, Captain America is a title worn by a ton of people.
Right.
Whether it be U.S. agent who nobody likes right now, Falcon, Winter Soldier, American Patriot. That's just a character, or the right wing's newest outrage, Captain America: The Railroads, who is a gay Captain America who defends runaways and homeless people.
Yeah.
And the thing, like, Captain America isn't in the comics, and I like how he's represented. More modernly, they've made him less of a representation of the U.S. military and more of a representation of the U.S. people.
Yeah. There's one quote in the first Avengers that really stuck out with me. Is when Dr. Erskine was like, "Do you want to go kill Nazis?" And Steve replies, "Is like, no, I don't really want to kill anybody. I just don't like bullies."
And that's why I wouldn't have been Captain America, because I would have said, "Fuck yeah, I want to kill some Nazis."
Right.
I was like, I'm kind of hoping to go pro, make an Olympic gold medal out of it.
Right. Like that's such a great line for who he is, because he wants so desperately to fight in this war, especially like when he's like, first of all, the CGI on the scrawny Steve Rogers looks like total shit.
It's like it looked good. Let's admit it. We all fucking praised it when it came out, though. We thought it looked great.
Yeah, but I was like, when I rewatched that movie, I'm like, dear Lord, they did my man Chris Evans.
There's ones, the battle scene in the hangar.
Yeah.
The green screen in that does not hold up.
Yeah. But that scrawny little Steve Rogers wanted so badly to join this war. Not because he wants to kill Nazis, or he's just like, yeah, that's the enemy. Because he could very much acknowledge that people are people. He's not just out there just like, hell yeah, I'm American gun-toting my ways, and we're gonna stop them damn Nazis. He's more concerned about the people that are laying down their lives for the country, and he's more concerned about the people being oppressed by the Nazis than
I think
Nazis.
His weapon of choice really presents who he is. The fact, and I think that Marvel's done a good job. If you think of weapons with superheroes, you get the Punisher and a fuck ton of guns. He's not a hero. You get Bucky, guns, not a hero. You get all these other characters who use guns, swords, whatever, but Captain America uses the shield. His offensive weapon is defense.
Yes.
And it's to protect, not attack. So that's representative. Now, when he throws that shield and it hits somebody's neck, it's fucking ending their life.
Yeah, like, it kicks ass still, don't get us wrong. But that is a very good observation, because he is somebody who goes out of his way to protect as many people as he can, and the shield is a great symbol of that. It's like he's not guarding of America. He's guarding American values and what this country is supposed to be, especially to, like, Steve Rogers' parents are immigrants, and this is kind of like what they thought America would be when they come here. It's this idea of freedom and liberty and making yourself however you want to make yourself.
So can we talk about like the origins of like Steve Rogers as a character?
Yeah. Sure.
So Steve Rogers is an immigrant. He grew up in Brooklyn. Yep, Brooklyn. He is pretty much very like either middle class or poor. He's orphaned
I think he's poor.
He's orphaned at it because I do believe his father in comics dies in either the First War or just depression. And I know his mother gets sick of, I don't want to say either like just sickness from the Great Depression. And then he's this like he's poor, so he's malnourished. He probably, quite frankly, has some sort of disease. And then he desperately tries to join the army, which is, that's clearly propaganda. And then also like the movie follows this pretty closely, and the thing that changes is Bucky is the one who goes to war. Bucky is a child in most of the older comic adaptations, not in a lot of the newer. I like in the newer adaptations making him his buddy rather than a child soldier.
Yeah, I like that relationship that they have.
Yeah, I know people like it. Oh no, I'm actually more of a fan of him as his friend than rather a child soldier.
Yeah, he's a friend more than a sidekick.
Yeah, and like some ways almost was kind of a superior. But like Captain America too was like, one thing I hate is like when people do the memes and jokes of Captain America being racist because he's from the 40s.
No,
that's just utterly against the character of who Steve Rogers was. Steve Rogers was for everybody. Like that's why he hated they're not hated, but that's why he wanted to stand against the Nazis. As you said, he saw them as another group of bullies.
Yes. And I mean, sometimes it's funny because he's just like, those memes are like, oh, when he must have been confused as hell when he got out of ice and and everyone's just walking around equally, and he was like, "Yo, what's going on here?" And like, yeah, I probably would have been confused, but I would have been happy about it. I think Steve would have been too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like, I think if you want to do it right, yeah, he's confused, but he's happy. I also think too, you have to go through like, I mean, talking about like, we're going to talk about the negatives in a moment, but like, I really fucking love Captain America. And I think Captain America, like I said, and representatively when he he's lost America, even though they win the war, they kind of lost something, which was their symbol, because he becomes this, like he replaces Uncle Sam for all the recruiting posters.
Yeah.
So, and then like on the other side, we have Superman, who, I mean, Superman is just so powerful. Like it's hard to compare the two in terms of strength, but Superman defends Earth. What?
Yeah, and like no, it's kind of weird to compare those two characters because while being a super soldier, Captain America is still like a person.
If he gets shot, he dies.
Yeah, Superman will like literally like eat a bullet and he's fucking okay.
Which must have been jarring for that first robber who tried to stand against Superman.
Yeah. It's like, what?
When he wraps the gun around your wrist, he's like, I'd like to apologize for everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but Superman is also like the DC's symbol of America. His saying used to be truth, justice, and the American way.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think now it's just for truth and justice, because I think he's now used more as like an international character.
They still use that in the movies.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he is so, I mean, like, he's so like ideal American. Like, he works he's a middle class guy who grew up on a farm. When he does get married, he gets married, has like 2 kids who both become fucking superheroes, and even has a fucking superhero dog.
Yeah. We love crypto. But it's just like this big, strong, like red, white, and blue motif. It's just like, yeah, look how awesome America is. And look how awesome this guy is. He's fighting for our country. But really, he's not fighting. Like, I never saw it as he's like fighting for the country. He's fighting for freedom. He's fighting for our ideals. It's not like,
well, and in modern,
he's not an American soldier or anything like that.
In modern comics, he will like outly say, like, when people like Batman and him and other characters will say like, oh, like, what's your view on this or that? And he flat out says, oh, I don't get involved because it would be too unfair for me to get involved in like Earth's politics and Earth's whatnot. But he will like stop things. Like, you know, I truly believe like if there was a Superman in World War II, he would have like lasered Hitler's face off.
He did after.
But there wasn't, unfortunately. And that's like when you get twist on Superman, like Superman Red Sun, where he's born in the Soviet, or not born, he crashes into the Soviet Union instead of the United States, is actually really interesting. Or even like the ones where Superman is not evil, but like says like, okay, I'm ruling Earth because you guys clearly can't do this. It always, like, Red Sun less so, but like when evil Superman, I don't like.
I don't either.
The only one that does it well is Injustice, and they really reach for why he turns evil.
Yeah. Injustice has the Joker nuke fucking Metropolis and brainwash
after he's tricked Superman into murdering his own pregnant wife.
Yes. So I don't think anybody would be okay after that.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you right now, if that happened to me, I'm killing everybody who's evil.
Yeah.
Well, so like, I guess that's the thing. Like, where Superman, he is so powerful, he knows he has to restrain himself just in daily life. And I think that's like the interesting thing. Like, quite honestly, if he chose to, he doesn't need to live by a secret identity, but he chooses to for the fact it protects everybody around him.
Yeah.
Although I always like to think of that there's like an in joke where everybody knows it's fucking Superman, but everybody just goes with it because it's like somebody walks to Lex Luthor. Hey, boss, we know who Superman is. So we're going to like, no, we're not going to do anything. We fight him on fair terms. Listen, are you going to go storm Superman's house? No. Okay, then shut up and just go with it. Let him believe what he wants to believe.
Yeah, and like...
I also think Lex Luthor as a villain is incredibly interesting. And I kind of wonder because Lex Luthor is like kind of the ultimate capitalist.
Absolutely.
People have made the comparison of Lex Luthor to Donald Trump because evil businessman who runs.
Fair comparison.
Evil businessman who runs for president. Yeah. And yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about what we like to talk about normally, how these characters have been ruined.
Yeah.
Who do you want to start with? Good old Star Spangled Man or Soups?
Soups, I think, is the one that has the most varied treatment. So I'm just thinking a lot about because Zack Snyder's Justice League came out recently, and I watched the whole 4 hours, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was pretty good for the most part, but it made me think back on Superman's previous two outings with Zack Snyder. With
I don't like his previous two outings.
Man of Steel, I like a little bit. There's parts of it I like. I think Batman v Superman is an embarrassment, though, to be honest. I don't like that film, and I think a lot of what's good about Clark Kent and what's good about Superman is missing in those films. It's not Henry Cavill, because I think Henry Cavill does a good job. I think it's just the writing where, like, yeah, Superman's a good guy, but they're missing the point of the symbol of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like Man of Steel. There's the whole thing where like, oh, Superman fucking destroys a whole city, whatever. Like, what gives with that? And I'm like, I can let that pass because a lot of that's just collateral damage. And if Superman wasn't there to fight Zod, that shit would have been destroyed anyway. Superman was literally the only one that could deal with that threat. And on top of that, he was still like learning his powers. And he's never had to like go full out like that before. So I'm like, I can give that a pass. But the way he's personified, especially like with Batman v Superman, is really weird to me.
Well, and the weird thing about Batman v Superman is they took a spin-off event from a comic and turned it into part of the mainstream story.
Right.
And again, they were trying to jump to Civil War. Like that's their whole thing, is they were trying to jump ahead in the comics because they wanted to catch up to Marvel.
Yeah.
But no, and like, so let's also talk about like, obviously, like we live in the post-Trump nightmare world. So we've seen Superman depict Trump's head and we'll talk about this with Captain America, but like superimposed on Superman. And like, he's really not as much tied into fascism as much as Captain America has been with like our modern American nationalist movement. But he still comes up in it. And like, I think the man who's literally an alien being associated at all with the last president is insane.
It's cringe. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah. But like I think also the bastardization of Superman more comes from how people treat him like, oh, he is a god amongst men, which is not at all true. He's the protector of men, not the god amongst men.
I always saw him as a man among gods.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense.
That's how I see Superman, because on top, despite having all this power, he chooses to be a man. He chooses to live as much of a normal life as possible while also using his powers for good to save people. And that's why it's so cringe when that like, because they don't people who like, you know, you put Donald Trump's head on Superman. They don't see Superman for Clark Kent. They see Superman for Superman. They
see Superman for his power, not for his
humanity. Right.
Yeah. And now let's talk about Captain America's indoctrination into right wing. So Captain America is really hard to disassociate. Here's the thing. I'd say Captain America would quite fucking literally be Antifa.
Yes. That's why I think his arcs in like Winter Soldier and Civil War are so interesting, because who but the symbol of America is fighting against the government?
Yeah.
That's why I was saying earlier, he's the embodiment of patriotism versus nationalism, where he believes in morality and the American values, but he doesn't care. He doesn't quite care for. He's not blindly loyal to the government. He's not
the difference, in my opinion, between patriotism and nationalism is patriotism is standing for your country, all people included, and even people who are not within your borders that want to be a part of your country, and standing for doing the right thing, the good thing, and taking care of all those people.
Even if it means going against your country because you feel like it's the right thing to do to protect your people. That's what it is.
Nationalism is standing with your country no matter what, for your people in that country.
Yes.
And when I say your people, because a lot of times, let's face it, there's not a lot of nationalism that's like, we're nationalism for everybody. It's a lot of national associated with this.
Yeah.
Whiteness. Or, you know. And like, I've heard arguments for nationalism being a good thing, but at the end of the day, name an example where nationalism is good. It's hard to.
I mean, yeah, it's a bit difficult.
And let's talk about how Captain America has been bastardized. One is he's been used, like fucking Proud Boys put his symbol on their shields and try to copy his shield all the time. Two is the fucking chuds who do the photoshopping Trump's head onto Captain America. And
so gross.
The other are the ones who picked, like I've seen drawings of him like fighting the like It's like a cartoonist I saw tried to do like Captain America fighting Black Lives America defending a cop.
What, like, did you watch any of the movies? Like,
no, like if Captain America was real and saw the protest that happened over the summer, do you not think you'd be bouncing his shield off of like freaking riot police?
Right. Like, what in what world would you think that Captain America would be on your side?
Like, one of the things that makes like the World War II comics of Captain America so kind of, in my opinion, patriotic versus nationalistic is Captain America's unit is mixed race.
Yeah. And they did a really good job of carrying that on into the movies too.
Yeah. I would love for there to be like a miniseries where they take, and I kind of hope they could maybe do this one day if while they still got Chris Evans in his, I guess, prime. I'd like to see like a miniseries that's just like the World War II adventures of Captain America and the Howling Commandos.
Yeah.
I mean, we get that montage, but like that's just like, I always imagine that's got to be the best part of that movie is just like when him and the Howling Commandos are kicking ass through Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the things I'm not a huge fan of about the first Avengers. It's like a lot of that story is just told through montage, and there's just a lot of like, montages in that movie.
So, I mean, what's your thought on like the bastardization I've talked about where it's like, Superman fighting Antifa, Captain America fighting Antifa, or Captain America, the Trump head. Because like one is people associating the power of Superman with just like, yeah, your power, you're with us. But like, what is like, because I feel like Captain America, it's just you haven't read the comics. You just like how he looks. Like,
I kind of just want to know what they think about that character in general, because like if you even if you haven't like picked up a single comics and you just watch the movie, did you only see just like Cap throwing a shield around? Did you not listen to a single thing that was said in those movies? Did you like turn your brain completely off and not pay attention to any of the story or anything that was going on? And all three of his solo movies in the first Avengers, the Age of Ultron, Infinity, all of them, every single one of them does a good job with Cap, and nobody gets it if you think of it.
And it really is just using the sim. It's So I actually want to. Could we go like let's talk a little. So spoilers ahead. We're going to talk a little about Falcon and Winter Soldier. So Falcon. So let's talk about the first decision of like him leaving Captain America to Sam versus Bucky.
Yeah, I always thought Sam was the right choice.
I know people say, oh, but Bucky was his best friend. Bucky is a good soldier. And to quote, it's not a good soldier, it's a good man.
Yeah.
Sam's a good man. And I think Steve sees a lot of himself when he looks in Sam. And I think the show's doing a really good job to show what I mean by that. He comes from a family that obviously struggled financially to get where it is. And still does, because I mean, the first thing I'd like to say for Falcon and Winter Soldier, addressing the financial struggles of not only just like a person who's not exactly upper class, because let's face it, like the least interesting thing about Iron Man is his like life, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's incredibly wealthy. He doesn't like, that's why like people like, I think like if a lot of people say like Iron Man, I think they like more him for his genius and whatnot. But Peter Parker, Captain America, and all these other characters who aren't necessarily like rich guys are so much more relatable because, they have this struggle of not only being heroes, but being people too.
Right. Peter Parker is a subject for, I would say, a completely different episode.
And the first thing I want to talk about is how let's talk about that bank scene.
That bank scene made me so mad because I think it's a good scene, but it made me so mad because I think it's a really good job at like portraying a lot of like racist microaggressions, where the guy at the bank isn't just like saying "get out of here, black man," or calling the N-word or anything. He's just like the first thing he does is he doesn't recognize Falcon immediately, which is whatever. But the first thing he assumes that Falcon is a professional athlete.
Yeah, I mean, so there's multiple things I want to talk about, like just regarding I mean, we can start with race, but I also want to talk about how like veterans are treated in this country too.
Yes, because Falcon in the beginning of Winter Soldier, he's out of the military.
Freshly out.
Yeah, he's out, and what he's doing is he's leading a support group to help veterans reacclimate to home life. Because what happens to a lot of people who come back from war, the war never really leaves them. Even when they're at home, they struggle to adjust to civilian life. And that's what Falcon is doing. He's helping people readjust.
Yeah, and to talk a little bit about Falcon's background in the military, he wasn't a pilot. A lot of people think he's a pilot. He was air rescue, which for those who don't know means he was dropped in like enemy lines to rescue people and retrieve assets. And obviously that's where Falcon's technology and suit comes from, is like trying to be better at that. But so much like, I think being in that position where he wasn't necessarily coming from a combative role, is more or less he was coming from a role of rescue, being like initially air rescue. He cares about human life a lot.
Yeah. And he left after he saw his partner die. Yeah. And that trauma stuck with him. But where we see him in the beginning, I mean, he helps Cap out in Winter Soldier and Civil War, and he becomes an Avenger. But where we see him in the beginning of the Disney Plus show, or Falcon and Winter Soldier, he's doing contracts for the military. Not because he really wants to, it's because he needs money.
Yeah. And that's a really weird thing to think about, is superheroes needing cash, being strapped for cash. So the interaction in the bank, they, like you said, he's kind of treated like an athlete. And then when the moment he complains, it's, well, oh, you have so much money, don't you? Don't you have this? A lot of people who are athletes don't make a lot of money. Right. And that's one thing to remember. Just because somebody's famous doesn't necessarily mean they are rich.
Yeah. So Falcon can literally go against Thanos' army, but a bigger struggle for him is literally just keeping his family boat.
Yeah. So let's then talk about the the treatment of veterans. And so I was I was thinking about this. A lot of leftist veterans have this experience where it's like people want to walk up to you, say thank you for your service, but the moment you say well, my healthcare is not right, or I don't think everybody should have to serve for the rights, it's shut up. Follow your orders and shut up. That's the vast, especially people like that. It's oh, thank you for your service. People want to get that. I did my right thing. I thanked the soldier. Okay. It's then he says, well, I'd like some more support, financial support. I don't have a lot. I don't have a resource to talk about. You guys taught me how to do nothing but kill and all this other stuff and follow orders. So I'm not really adjusted. I need help. It's no, I thanked you. I held up my end of the bargain. And that's exactly what we see there. It's, well, thank you for being Falcon. Thank you for your service. No, you can't get this loan. You were gone for the last 6 years.
Yeah. And then the guy has the audacity to take a selfie with him.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the thank you for your service mentality.
It's so insulting. But
if again, this is the reason that he chose He chose Sam versus because like a lot of people would have, if they had, a fucking flight suit, would have said, hold on a second, on that flight suit, flown him to a point where if you dropped him, he kind of turns into gelatin when he hits the ground, and said, so can we reconsider that loan? At least that's what I would have done in his shoes. So then I guess we should talk a bit about, let's talk about U.S. Agent. Do you know anything about U.S. Agent or the new Captain America?
I haven't read any U.S. Agent comics. I know a little bit, like, from people explaining it to me.
So U.S. Agent, in my opinion, is what would happen if you turned the Frank Castle, without his family getting murdered, into Captain America. He is a good soldier. He is a good killer, but he kind of lacks the good man stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And I think the second episode really gets that, because I'm like, this dude doesn't seem like a bad.
No, he's
person.
not a bad man at all, but he's by no means. He's a good soldier. He follows his orders. He keeps his head down, and he's good at. I think the thing that really made me that I really like they did is they made U.S. Agent's gun very predominant on his holster.
Yeah.
Which was not like Captain America rarely used a gun.
No, he did, like he did in the first movie.
He was also at war.
When he was shooting Nazis, but since then, nah. He wasn't even using it. He wasn't even using a gun against like Thanos' goons.
Yeah, he just used Thor's hammer.
Yeah, which is even cooler. No, and then he had like the double arm things in Infinity War. It was beating the shit out of dudes with that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing is and then you have U.S. Agent, whose gun is probably like almost as predominant as shield on his armor when they first present him, is that U.S. Agent is a soldier. That's why they chose him. He's a soldier. And he's not necessarily a bad guy as much as he is. He just kind of is too much of a soldier to be Captain America.
Right. Because the reason why they chose Steve Rogers is not because he was a good soldier. He was awful.
Yeah.
He was 95 pounds with a bunch of medical conditions and could barely run a mile. But they chose him because of his heart and the person that he was.
And there's a line of where Bucky says, "You ever throw yourself on top of a grenade?" And then U.S. Agent replies with plenty of times.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Captain America did it. There was a guarantee he was going to die.
Yeah.
U.S. Agent had a reinforced helmet.
Scrawny ass Steve Rogers in nothing but a t-shirt hopped on top of that grenade.
Yeah. And I like that they said that. Like he's like, yeah, I've done it 4 times, and I have a reinforced helmet for that reason. And then, because that kind of misses the point.
Exactly.
There's a difference between trying to save everybody if you think you're going to make it out versus trying to save everybody when you know you're going to die.
Yeah. And that was like one of the things that I felt was touched on really well with the interview he did in the beginning of the episode with Good Morning America, where he's like trying to be humble, but the interviewer is just like, no, dude, you passed like every single test. And he's just like, wow. He's like, yeah, he passed all these physical tests.
I also understand why, what pisses me off is you understand why that this is something America would do is like, well, we need another white guy to do it. We can't, the last guy was white. So it's actually kind of very representative of how a lot of fans react when a character is not played by a traditional person of their, by a white person. There's people got very upset when there was talks of, oh God, I'm blanking now. People get very upset when it's, I'm trying to think of the last character who they kind of played with the race of.
I think they're planning on a black Superman.
Yeah, and now okay, that's fine. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Anyway, but then you have people who are like, what? What? And that's the thing. Is like, do you not think people would react to that if like the new Captain America was a black man? Like, let's pretend we live in the Marvel universe. Me and you, or one of us got snapped. I've been unlucky. Which one of us got snapped, do you think?
Both of us probably.
I'd like to think here's the thing. I would have been even unluckier where it's like I would have been the passenger in a car of somebody who got snapped. Yeah, I'd just been driving like, yeah, man, fuck.
And then you return in the exact same spot that you got snapped in, and then a car just like
It's me.
yeah.
Or better yet, I snapped right when I was about to fall off the motorcycle that broke my leg. And then I like snapped back in the middle of a field and still eat shit.
Yep. But
with a broken leg.
When Sam donates the shield and the senator is just like, you did the right thing. And I'm just like, this is sus. And then they don't even tell Sam anything. They don't keep him in the loop whatsoever. He finds out from watching it on TV.
Yeah.
He wasn't even a consideration, even though it's well known that he was chosen for that shield. Nobody even was just like, no, like, and nobody questioned it either. Everyone was just like, yeah, sure, this guy.
I also like the reaction of Bucky versus Sam to him not being Captain America. Is Bucky's incredibly. It's why Sam's such a great choice for Captain America.
Right.
He tries to be humble, even though like he's like, and they so like the police fucking come and try to arrest Falcon at first.
And then they realize like, oh wait, no, never mind. We want Bucky, nothing.
But they don't recognize who he is again. And then you also you find out about a guy who becomes another more important character later on, I'm hoping, who was a super soldier. And his gift was basically the Tuskegee experiments for him, but superpowers this time.
Yeah, Isaiah Bradley is a really interesting character that I really hope we get more exploration of, because that's a character that I do know a lot of it. About in the comics.
In comics, his grandson becomes one of the many Captain America replacements.
Yeah, he becomes a patriot who's one of like part of the Young Avengers, which they seem to be setting up quite a bit.
Yeah, well, it seems like they're doing a mix of the Young Avengers and the West Coast Avengers. And I kind of wonder if they're going to do this dual Avengers with like a West Coast Avengers and a Young Avengers, because the fact that they've set up White Vision.
They got White Vision, but they also have like Wicked and Speed with Wanda's kids.
Which I was talking, White Vision sounds like a racist or a hate group, right?
It does.
Like that must have been uncomfortable. Hey, so we're working on that Vision guy. What do you want us to call him? What Vision? Sir, can we like? What about like if we make him gray? No, he needs to be pure white.
They really whitewashed my favorite person of color in the Avengers. Purple Lives Matter.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Bad joke.
That was so bad. I thought that was worse than my White Vision sounding like a hate group joke.
It's fine.
You just threw yourself on the grenade for me, so thank you. And I like also just I think like it's important to talk to like let's talk about Winter Soldier as a movie. We are definitely facing the difference of what the difference is between freedom and security. You know, you can argue Hydra's goal in Winter Soldier was law and order.
It absolutely was.
If I told myself 10 years ago that you're going to be a bigger fan of anarchy versus law and order, I wouldn't believe myself. I'd also not really know what I mean because I'm talking to a 10-year-old and a 11-year-old.
But Hydra's plan essentially was to use the Shield helicarriers to eliminate over 1 million people that were potentially going to commit crimes to protect the civilians, which That's very clearly off. But their goal is to create order because they don't care about actual freedom. They care about the people that are there to disrupt their order. And whatever criminals are going to disrupt that order are a threat, and they don't care about them as human beings. They see them as liabilities. So why not launch those helicopter carriers to fucking shoot them all?
And, like a lot of the people who, as much as they claim like they're against dictatorship, let's just face it, a lot of conservatives in America would be okay with that, and getting rid of all the communists, all the criminals, all the what they label criminals, all the drug users in America. Quite frankly, probably people like me and you for the things outside of our politics that we believe in and do.
Right.
I know personally for myself, there's something about me that would probably get me killed in the ideal conservative America. And I mean, I'm sure you could talk on like how you feel that would go, but Hydra is kind of what happens when you are nothing but law and order.
Yeah, they're literal Nazis. It's they're in 2014. The Nazi regime has fallen 70 something years ago, but
they're still there.
Hydra's ideology lives on. That leadership lives on.
And one of the things I want to address, Hydra isn't necessarily Nazism. Hydra used Nazism as a tool to gain their power.
Yeah, like Schmidt wasn't like he wasn't like sucking Hitler's dick. He supported Hitler, but he also had his own agenda in mind.
Yeah,
if it came to it, he would have absolutely killed Hitler if he wanted.
I think he eventually did turn against Germany. I mean, they do that whole scene. And I think the reason they do that is you also don't necessarily, because you end up selling merchandise for your villains as much as your heroes. So you don't want them to be too Nazi-ish or flat out anti-Semitic or that. As people are learning with the Punisher at Marvel right now, when your symbol is used for the wrong cause, it can really hurt. And I think they really wanted to avoid that with Hydra. So they kind of made it seem like Hydra was its own actor in the last in the first Avenger rather than a part of the Nazi order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Hitler and his gang and Schmidt and his gang are two completely separate threats.
And I want to talk about the relationship between the Punisher and Captain America in comics, at least. The Punisher idolizes Captain America.
Yes.
And the Punisher kind of sees Captain America as the man he could have been. Because the Punisher is somebody who had everything taken from him. And what I like about the Punisher is he literally exists out of the ineptitude of the police department, and the police department wears his symbol thinking that they are one and the same. And I've gone over this in comics, and I will bring this up in every fucking podcast we do talking about superheroes till I die. The Punisher sees two cops using his symbol, and he takes it, rips off their car, and says, if you guys ever try to do what I do, I will fucking kill you. You have a hero to look up to. His name's Captain America. And I think that there represents who Captain America is, that he is the representation of who people want to be if they want to try to be better people.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a reason that even it's I will always be on, if let's say somebody turned me and you into heroes. Oh no, I got the power to be annoying, and I don't know what your power would be.
Be invisible.
Visible. I feel like I'd end up with super speed or some shit like that. Something incredibly ironic for me.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have, but it's irrelevant.
Anyway, let's say we were superheroes. I would join Captain America in Civil War.
Oh yeah, no, Team Cap was absolutely right, and you cannot I understand. Listen, I love Tony Stark as a character, but there's no way in hell you can tell me that Tony Stark was right in that movie.
And also, the thing is, Tony Stark doesn't represent me or you.
No.
And quite frankly, I would stand behind Captain America if we were fucking charging a line of men like we were in fucking Stalingrad. Because simply, like, I know Captain America stands for me more so than Iron Man does.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, Tony Stark's a great character, but like you have to understand the context of what is happening in the movie. And I guess it's one of those things like, yeah, I mean, if you saw Winter Soldier, that helps a lot too.
I also think one of the things too to talk about is, you know, there's a difference between somebody standing for you and somebody standing with you. Captain America would stand with you. Captain Iron Man stands for you. And like I know we were supposed to talk about Superman too, but this has kind of become the Star Spangled Man podcast.
Yeah, I can get back to Superman.
Yeah, so let's talk about Superman briefly. And again, his thing about.
I wanted to go back to, you mentioned Red Sun earlier.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to that.
Yeah.
So I have mixed feelings about Red Sun.
So do I.
I think it's a really interesting story, but it's also like pretending that like, if Superman was real, do you think the U.S. government wouldn't have done the exact same thing?
Oh yeah, and I think like the difference is in America that they hit it. I think the difference isn't like where he landed. I think it's the actions. The Ukrainian family reported who he was. Like, hey, a kid crashed in our backyard. Versus America, it's like we probably shouldn't tell anybody this, or they're going to experiment the hell out of him.
Yeah, but if the Kents did report him, Superman would have absolutely become a government agent. The way I view that alternate timeline is very similar to Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen series. In Watchmen, you see Dr. Manhattan completely obliterate Vietnamese soldiers, and he wins the war for America. And if you don't think they would have deployed Superman right then and there to win Vietnam or win World War II or whatever, they would have absolutely done that. They would have done everything that they could to make sure that Superman is America's super weapon. And that's why I think the new U.S. agent storyline is interesting, because they're using the mantle of Captain America to make practically a government pawn, a super soldier from that ideal of this is what a hero is, and he's fighting for America.
Yeah, I think like, the most terrifying idea is a superhero whose loyalty would only be to the state.
Yes. And
that's kind of the thing that I thought was actually like really not great about Rhodey. Like, as much as I like, what's his name? War Machine. There's a lot of, I like War Machine as a character. There's a lot of danger to a government actor having that kind of power if nobody can stand up to him. Which is why, like, it's really good that there isn't, Captain America or Superman, they aren't U.S. agents. Heck, see what I did there? But they're actors of the world.
Yeah. And that's why I really like Cap's nomad persona, because he doesn't really define himself by being America anymore. He hasn't given up completely, but he doesn't want to have the American name attached to him anymore.
Well, can we talk about Flag Smasher really quick?
Kind of cringe, to be honest.
Yeah, it kind of seems like a lot of people are saying, a lot of leftists are being cringe about it too. It's like Disney's an evil corporation who's anti-leftist. I'm like, No, I mean Flag Smasher. It's just Flag Smasher's a product of like communist fear, and you know, here's the thing. I don't think Flag Smasher is going to be the villain that they're setting up to be.
No, I think they're gonna like dispatch them as like a villain pretty early.
Power Broker's going to be the villain. They're going to be the throwaway villains.
Because either they're gonna like the heroes are gonna realize like, oh, you know what, these guys kind of have a point. They're going out about it the wrong way, but you know, I understand what they're coming from because they are freedom fighters. But yeah, the way they've been portrayed, at least recently, is pretty. In the first 2 episodes, pretty cringe, I think. Because there's a part that were like, yeah, the world was better before the blip, or before everyone came back, and I'm just like, no, I don't think that's true. But you know, the goal of one united world, one people. I mean, that's what I like.
Yeah, and like I'm not gonna lie, there's like, yeah, that it's a little cringe, but whatever. I don't, like I said, I think they're setting it up so Baron Zemo and Flat and like the Power Broker are the big bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I have too much more to add to this podcast in like regards, but so yeah, it's basically in the end of the day, be patriotic, not nationalistic. You know, Captain America stands for all of us. He stands for your alphabet mafia, your Black Lives Matter, your Asian Lives Matter, your Hispanic Lives Matter, all those people. He stands for me, you, poor, broke, all of us.
Yeah. And Superman is much in the same way. Except this time, instead of someone like the government, he's probably going to be smashing up Darkseid or Doomsday or some shit.
Yeah, the difference is Superman keeps the world safe from everything outside. Captain America's like, hey, government, what you doing over there? We're preparing to do some shady shit. Okay, I'm going to hit you with this shield until you regret that.
Yeah, pretty much.
And also just like keep in mind the amount of people who like kind of like when things start to go to shit, like, yeah, I guess we're going to betray the US government to stand with Captain America. It's pretty large.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the point, like a lot of people put their lives at risk when Hydra tries to take over Shield.
Yeah. Like that one guy where Crossbones is just like, hey, you better launch the helicarriers, and he with the gun to his head, and he's just like, sorry, can't do that. Captain's orders.
And like also that guy's not a hero. He's not a soldier. He's the me and you of that universe. He's some like a poor intern who's given that key for the day.
Yeah, he's like, sorry, can't launch a weapon of mass destruction upon people.
And then like also there's that group of pilots that try to take off and stop and help. They don't because Bucky's a dickhead.
Yeah, I mean, he's a brainwashed dickhead.
Yeah. Hey, you're still a dickhead even if you're brainwashed.
I mean, it's not his fault. He can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
He's just coded to be a dickhead.
Yeah. I also think that I feel like we need to do more episodes talking about Marvel characters.
Yes.
I'd like to do one kind of talking about Spider-Man and what he means, like kind of as a working class hero.
I can talk for hours and hours about Spider-Man because he's actually my favorite character in all of fiction.
I like to talk about also Black Panther in the movies. I like to talk about how Black Panther is taught by one of his nemesis to improve his way of thinking.
That's one of the most fascinating character arcs in superhero movies in general. Is
to kind of look at a character and say, I don't agree with how you're going to do this, but I do agree that you're right, and we need to change the way we think about things. Yeah, that's kind of how I see. That's kind of a similar direction to how I see like the Flag Smashers going as the series progresses.
because it's like because the way they're portraying them right now is just like, yeah, these guys are just like freedom fighters, and people are super like sympathetic to their cause. It's just, acts of terrorism are kind of bad.
Because, like, let's face it, like, we know not everybody who's getting the vaccine right now is getting it because they're the ones who need it most. It's because they're the ones with the power to get it.
Yeah.
And if I heard like a group of superhuman rebels broke at the vaccines and distributed to all the poor people in Los Angeles,
I'd be that mad.
What?
I'd be kind of chill with that.
Yeah, I'd be like, yo, okay, I'm with the Flag Smashers. Where do I sign up? And then I get the shit kicked out of me.
Yeah, that's so. I see them taking kind of like a similar direction where you're like, yeah, they're the bad guys, but they're not bad guys.
Yeah. Keep in mind, like in comics, Captain America works with the singular Flag Smasher hero.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like Steve Rogers would probably be pretty sympathetic to their cause.
They fight because Flag Smasher in the comics is also an extremist. He'll do shit like try to blow up a fucking embassy filled with people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, in my opinion, like you either have to make them an extremist group who's too, because like even if I agree with the group, there Lions Led by Donkeys did an episode on the Jewish Avengers, who are a group of people who took revenge killing all the Nazis after the war. They also tried to poison all of Germany's water, and their goal was to kill 6 million Germans in exchange for 6 million Jews.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't agree with that, but like also I do agree with like killing a Nazi in his home when he's sleeping at night. So like it's kind of make me think that like make them try to do like I'm wondering if they're gonna like maybe they're gonna do some mass bombing or something, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like I agree with the Jewish Avengers on the most part. Yeah, kill those fucking Nazis, but also maybe don't poison 6 million women and children.
Yeah, maybe targeting civilian populations isn't really cool.
One of my favorite things about the Jewish Avengers, just to like go off topic, is they apparently just like would run over Nazis on the street, which must have been a jarring period of time to just be walking around and seeing your neighbor. Hi, Hans. I guess Hans wasn't good.
Damn Nazi.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think that's a good place to call the episode. Tyler, my question for you is what would your Captain America persona be? Because since everybody gets to be Captain America in Marvel.
I kind of like the Sam Wilson Cap, simply because I think the wings are dope, but he also gets to be Captain America.
If I were to be my own Captain America, I'd say I'm the Captain America of rural. I'd be the Captain America for rural worker, where it's like I defend striking miners against not against unions, against like scabs and Pinkertons.
Be Comrade America.
Yeah. I'd be what? Comrade America?
Yeah.
I'd be Captain Union.
Yeah.
I'd even have like the red bandana for the representation of the coal miners. I think like that would be my gimmick if I were to pick up a Captain America thing. It's like
I just think wings are cool. That's
hey, Amazon. This shield says you're not going to do the strike anymore, or you're not going to starve your employees anymore. We'll do what we're pleased. Okay, time to beat somebody till they pee themselves.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm with that.
I want to see a hero who does that. He's not like, well, let's see. I don't think I could take on like the guy who's going to try to blow up the Earth. I do think I could kick the shit out of a CEO until he pays his workers what they deserve.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah. All right. On that note, thank you all. We'll see you next week.